Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelsey and I'm here today to do my January wrap-up. So I'm sorry this is coming a little late in the month. I just did not have the energy last week to film anything. I was in the process of filming a vlog that you will see coming in the next video, next week or this week, whenever I feel like editing it. I just didn't have the energy to talk about over 13 books. So let's get into the statistics before we begin. Like I said, I read 13 books in the month of January, and that came out to a total of 4,853 pages, which is roughly 157 pages per day. So well above that 100-page goal per day that I always have. And 127 hours were spent listening to the audiobooks. Maybe not at that time because I do listen quite fast to audiobooks, but it really helped. It really helped me get that number up. In regards to the star ratings, I had such a great month in January. So 3 of the books were 5 stars, 6 were 4 stars, 4 were 3 stars, and I had 0 2 stars, 0 1 stars, and 0 DNFs. So the average came out to a perfect 4-star month. In regards to the author identities, I read from 7 female authors, 5 male authors, and 1 author that identifies as non-binary. And in regards to the format, this is just how I primarily read them, but I always tend to do audiobooks and then the physical or ebook in tandem. So 7 books were read primarily using audio, 5 were ebooks, and one of those books was a physical book that I read all the way through without an audiobook because I have a big brain. I can't believe I forgot to mention the age range of the books that I read. 11 of these books were adult books and 2 of the books were YA. I always add this to my statistics and I don't know why my brain farted today and I didn't talk about them, but I like to talk about the age range. So let's start talking about the books, shall we? We'll start with the one that I have a live show for. This is Last Night in Montreal by Emily St. John Mandel. It follows a girl named Lilia who, when she was a child, she was abducted by her father, who takes her away to the United States, and she spends most of her childhood traveling with him. And because of this, Lilia develops this sort of need to constantly leave, always abandoning the people that she is closest to. And one of the most recent people is her boyfriend Eli, and follows her to Montreal in her last bout of escapism. So like I said, I did do a live show for this for the Professor Kelsey's book club with my friends Justin and Bobby, and that is live on my channel. You can go watch it if you would like to know all of my thoughts. Next, we'll move into the 2 Wheel of Time books I read in January. The first of which was The Fires of Heaven, and I also read Lord of Chaos. This obviously took up a bulk of the audiobook listening that I did in January. So the Wheel of Time series is a expansive 14-book long series that I'm making my way through, and it basically follows a world where time is sort of in a wheel, and every age there is this battle between the good magic and the evil magic, and it all comes down to what is essentially the Dragon Reborn. And depending on where the Dragon Reborn falls on the good or evil side, that is the way that history will go in that wheel, and then it's constantly circulating into a new Dragon Reborn. And I won't go further into details because I think it's fairly obvious who the Dragon Reborn is, especially in the first book. In the 5th and 6th book, we definitely know who it is, but how the characters have prevailed since then affects the way that the wheel turns and the way that the age is going. Talk about The Fires of Heaven first, and I enjoyed the plot of this one a lot more. If you've been following my journey with this series, you'll know that I haven't been really enjoying it, so to say, until these 2 last installments that I read. I think there was enough happening here that I could ignore the moments of annoyance that I've been having so far with the series. I think within this one, there wasn't that much enforcement of gender roles that Robert Jordan always puts into his books, and that's why I was less annoyed. I don't know. I really enjoyed Elaine and Nynaeve's adventures in this book, and they were, I think, the most entertaining aspects of the story, especially because Nynaeve's behaviors and decisions in this one were being questioned by Elaine and Egwene. And I think that that's really crucial to Nynaeve's development in the stories, because she's often this character that believes that she's better than their main characters just because back when they were in their town before the entire series unfolds, Nynaeve was in charge of them. So a lot of her decision making is being questioned by the younger kids now that they're at the age where they can question her. And I'm really appreciating this because I feel like it's adding to all of the characters' dynamics. The final 100 pages in this was really engaging, despite the fact that I don't really enjoy Rand's perspective at all, really. But I do think that interesting aspects that will like further the plot were happening here. Also, the death in this book, I really wasn't expecting that. It really surprised me, and I think that made me enjoy the novel overall. So I'm definitely way more interested in continuing the series from this point, and that's reflected within the next book that I'll talk about. But for this one, I gave a 3.5 stars. And then moving into Lord of Chaos, I enjoyed this one far more, and I think this is one of my favorite installments in the series. So many things occur in this book that really advanced the plot. They were done in such interesting ways that you can really tell that these are going to impact the characters as we move forward in the series. There were many reveals that like complicate the dynamics, and a lot of what we know and understand about these political like rules was upended here, and it really made me question the world that Robert Jordan has created, or what we've been accustomed to this entire time. Do I still find Robert Jordan's writing to be lackluster? Yes. Do I still find that the gender roles and those dynamics are still present within the world and annoy me? Absolutely. But did this feel like a soap opera where everything was coming together and I could not like put the book down for the first time in a really long time? Also, yes. And for that, this one has become my favorite installment. A lot of people say that the slump in the series starts with these books, but I often like the boring books that people don't like anyways, just because I'm cool and different. So I think I'm gonna really enjoy this. I'm really looking forward to continuing the series now, which is a feeling that I have not had in the series for like 2 books. And with that, I gave this a 4 stars just because it like reinvigorated my love for the Wheel of Time series. This month, I also started to read quite a bit of manga. I just want to tackle my very large manga TBR. Did I read any physical mangas? No. But I did start the year off with Yona of the Dawn Volume 2, and this is written by Mizuho Kusanagi, and it follows this red-haired princess named Yona, obviously. And within the first volume, something terrible happens to Yona on her birthday, and it was committed by someone that she was infatuated with, someone that she really trusted. And because of that, she needs to go on the run with her bodyguard, Hat, and the like story is taking off from there, obviously. And I really enjoyed this volume. I loved learning about the different members of the 5 tribes and how this adds to the world. And I feel like it's going to really add to the political dynamics and developments throughout the series. Yona really shined in this one. She was an annoying character I found in the first volume, but I believe she's going to turn into this character that I'm going to really enjoy following. Obviously, I really liked Hawk because he's a bodyguard and because he's like witty and funny and charming, and like he's sworn to protect her, and I just think this is really going to be for me. I love bodyguard romances, so I just think that as the story moves forward, I'm going to enjoy Hawk and Yona's relationship a lot more. And I gave this 4 stars. Then I read an arc for Womb City by Toto Tamase, and this is a really interesting sci-fi novel that follows a main character named Nella. And Nella is trapped in this loveless marriage with a police officer. My phone ran out of space, so if the lighting is different, if the way I look is different, sorry about that. Despite having this tumultuous relationship, Nella and her police officer husband decide to have a child. However, after a night of like drug-induced fun, Nella commits this desperate crime and has to like bury the body and hopefully keep this secret. I really felt like this book started off so strong. I really enjoyed the world that Samase created. It's definitely very reminiscent of The Handmaid's Tale and the very like real and scary misogyny that plagues our world. The beginning had a very clear, like overbearing big brother type of world and the form of government and police officering that like interested me. I loved the discussions that this novel was having with our main character, who had a microchipped body, who had a want and a need for motherhood. I was really rooting for her in the first third of the novel. Something very off-putting happens within the 35% mark that completely changed, I think, the trajectory of my enjoyment for this novel. It veers into this like weird horror blend that just didn't really solidify for me. I felt like it left a lot of plot holes, a lot of conveniences that just did not keep me fully engaged while they were explained regardless. I just don't feel like the lighting is good anymore. But anyways, we'll continue. And it started to feel like a lot of cracks fell within those plot holes. And the ending itself did not hit in a way that I feel like it wanted to. That being said, however, this is a debut novel, so I'm really excited to see what Samase publishes in the future. I just think that their ideas and themes are there and they can really write engaging sci-fi. And in the end, I gave this a 3 stars, solid debut. Just was expecting a little bit more. After that, I read Nona the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I won't go too much into details about this. If you watched my best books of 2023, you'll know that the first 2 books in the series, Gideon the Ninth and Harold the Ninth, made it to the best books list. I became a completely obsessed and enthralled with the series. The story is so different within all 3 books, but the premise of Gideon the Ninth is that it follows a character named Gideon who lives on this planet called the Ninth Tomb, and the princess of the Ninth Tomb, Harrow, is selected to go to this competition on the first tomb, which is the first planet, in order to become a lector, which is like a coveted position within this world. And in order to do so, they need to bring like a knight figure, and that's where Gideon comes in. So in order to be able to leave this tomb, she sort of strikes up this deal with Harrow that she will go there to be the bodyguard, the knight. If Harrow wins, Gideon will be able to leave. And if you've read the series, you know that that synopsis is so mundane compared to what the rest of this series is. So I'll briefly just say that I was literally obsessed with this book, much like how I was obsessed with the first 2 books in the series. It was perfect. Tamsin Muir is so unhinged, yet so intelligent. You really have no idea where the novels in this series are going until you reach the end of that specific novel. And then you start the next novel completely unaware of what's going on. And I just love that. I'm just here and along for the ride. I can't wait for Electo. I really hope it comes out this year. Needless to say, I gave this 5 stars. I think if you're willing to put in just a confused brain for the beginning of these books, you will absolutely love this series. Highly recommend. 5-star read. Just chef's kiss. After that, I read the last book in the Wayfarers series, The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers. This is a series of companion novels that starts with The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. This is a series that takes place in the future, and it's a very hopeful future. Humanity and like the different aliens and the universe, we all get along. And while there are some political like problems, pretty much this is like the perfect hope for the future. Becky Chambers does write hope sci-fi. I love being in her worlds. This book is far different from like the others in the series, so I can essentially start with the synopsis. You don't need to read them in order, I don't think so. None of them are like connected timeline wise, but this one follows a freak technological failure that happens when 4 characters land on like a rest planet, and they're not allowed to leave the planet because something is happening with the technology in the air, in the universe, in the space, in the sky. I don't know how to describe it. In space, above them, in the atmosphere. And so it halts traffic, and these characters have to kind of work together to entertain one another and like get along while they're waiting for this thing to end. I think if you're a big fan of Legends and Lattes, you're really going to enjoy this cozy sci-fi novel, or any of them in the series really. The Wayfair series and all the books within it don't necessarily follow a large-scale plot. It's more following the characters created within the novel and the more like positive look into the future. Chambers is so good at writing like expanded universes and the different alien species that we could meet. And I always love how the different alien like societies are discussed within her books in terms of like gender, relationships, race, and political dynamics. And the list can definitely go on and on. And even though each of the book follows a set of new characters, although some characters do cross over, I never feel as though I don't know these characters by the end of the book. Each individual character is so developed, and we completely understand their motivations and how these other characters can really bounce off of or help them in a given scenario. I really, really loved the found family in this, and how this was just simply a story of people coming together and people helping each other, and it just made me feel so warm and cozy, and I gave it 4 stars. I highly recommend this series if you're just looking for something like cozy, sweet, and fun. After that, to fulfill Books and Lala's buzzword readathon prompts, which is basically like every month there is a new prompt of a buzzword that you have to fit into the titles of the books. In January, it was there, and there. You get the gist of it. And I decided to read The Trees Grew Because I Bled There by Eric LaRocca. I've been very intrigued by Eric LaRocca. I read Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke, and this one was just as creepy. So it's a collection of short stories, so I'm not going to go very much into depth about what this novel is. It's essentially a collection of short horror fiction, which I really enjoyed. LaRocca continues to shock me with anything that they write. I have never read anything from them that didn't like make me feel sick to my stomach, really. Not every story, much like with a lot of collections, in this collection was a banger, but the ones that hit. My favorites in the collection were You're Not Supposed to Be Here and The Trees Grew Because I Bled There. The title story, The Trees Grew Because I Bled There, is so disturbing. So just a note for you if you decide to jump into this one. Something I really appreciated about this collection overall was the theme of loss of like family members. Each individual story dived into this theme in one way or another, and I loved seeing how twisted LaRocca could get with this theme. I'm slowly making my way through their work, and although apprehensively, I can't wait to pick up more. I ended up giving this a 3.5 stars. it was an enjoyable read for me. After that, I joined an in-person book club here in Montreal, and the book for January was A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. I just went on a spiel about Becky Chambers, and I'll do it again. If you're looking for cozy reads, you need to pick up this author. A Psalm for the Wild Built does not take place in the Wayfarer series. This is a dive into a new world, and it essentially follows a world where humans used to live with robots, and one day the robots kind of got up and left society in order to explore the forests on their own terms, and the humans developed from there. One day a monk comes in contact with a robot, and that robot has one question: how can I help humans? So I think I read this at like just the right time. It's a perfect little book that really dives into like our purpose in life, who we are, how we relate to the world, how we can possibly help the world or not help the world depending on what we want to do. Much like our characters, I felt great comfort in reading this novella. It felt like drinking a warm cup of tea, and if you read this book, then you know why. I don't really have much to say. I think there's so much that you can grasp from so few little pages, and if you're really looking to dive into questions on our purpose in life and like stuff like that, you'll really find this here. I think it's a novella that everyone should read because I feel like a lot of people will find great comfort in this, and I give this 5 stars. Obviously, absolutely loved it. Absolutely love Becky Chambers. I could talk about my love for her writing for hours, but I won't. I will save it. Just pick up this book if you haven't yet. Then I went ahead and read another manga. So I read the second volume of Blood on the Tracks by Shuzo Oshimi. And this is essentially a fucked up mother-son dynamic a la Psycho. The first book begins with Seichi and his mother as we slowly start to see how Seichi's mother develops or consumes her son and her need to protect her son. And some horrifying shit goes down in the first volume. The second volume is sort of looking at the repercussions of this. So I won't go too much into details because it is on the shorter side. We're really just diving into more and more the dynamics between these two characters, the mother and the son. My review for this manga volume on Goodreads is just this clip, like, what the fuck am I reading? Is exactly how I felt when I was going into this. And I can tell you that I read the third volume in the month of February and I feel exactly the same. I gave this 4 stars. This series is really gripping me. It's really, 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 really creepy. And I'm just enjoying my time with it, riding the high of just what the fuckness. And going along this train of excellent reads this month, I also picked up Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. I am an Olivia Blake stan. I love her writing style. There is no one more talented to me than Olivia Blake. Maybe take this review with a grain of salt because I absolutely go hard for her. But Alone with You in the Ether follows 2 people who meet at an art institute. One of these characters is named Aldo, who is very logic-based focused. He likes routines, he likes mathematical equations, and he likes equating the world to these types of formulas. And obviously he meets his like eternal opposite, Reagan, who is a counterfeit thief, lover of art, and they come together to have 6 conversations so that they could get to know each other better. This novel was absolutely created for me. It's exactly what I want from romance novels. It's not marketed as a romance book, but these 2 characters falling in love had me swooning. And who knew a little mathematician, little Aldo, who knew what he could do? But he could do it. It's just a story about 2 fucked up but intelligent individuals who don't think they're good enough for one another, and that angst is what I loved. They communicate via metaphorical theorems and intentionally flawed artwork that only the other would pick up on. Bye. This was the perfect romance book for pretentious people like me, and I give this 5 stars. Loved it. The writing obviously was just excellent, but the way that these 2 are obsessed with each other, I loved it. Then to calm down, I decided to read another manga, and that was The Girl from the Other Side, also volume 2 by Nagabe. And this is the story of a world where there's an outside and an inside. And the outside, as we're getting these clues, it seems to be that something has gone down where the people on the outside are sort of infected by these like monsters. One outsider is taking care of what we presume to be a normal human girl. And how is she surviving in the outside? We don't know. We only get glimpses of the inside world, and it seems to be very puritanical. And I love puritanical books. So I'm obviously going to love this series. As with the first volume, the relationship between teacher, this outsider figure, and Shiva, the little girl, is just so sweet. I appreciate that this volume dived more into the backstory of the world and the curse and what is going on with this like monstrous disease thing that seems to be happening. But I feel like this one just left me with more questions than answers, really. I was a little confused with what was happening because the focus of this volume was really on the curse and its explanation, but I don't really feel like it was explained. So I'm interested to see how this develops in the further volumes. And this ending in this book, I was so suspicious. I'm so suspicious. What's going on? I gave this a 3 stars. It's keeping me engaged. I was a little confused, but I'm along for the ride. And the last book that I read in January, which is good because my battery is dying, was My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I am slowly becoming obsessed with Grady Hendrix. This is about 2 high school friends, Abby and Gretchen, who have been best friends since the 4th grade. One day, skinny dipping in one of their friends' chalets goes wrong and Gretchen comes back really weird. Abby's investigation leads her to believe that Gretchen is possessed by the devil and she will do anything to save her best friend. Hendrix did it again. I just love how campy his writing style is and how the horror in this is very random and fun, although there is some fucking gross scenes in this one. Every time I read a book from him, I feel as though I'm really watching a horror movie. And with this one, it really felt like I was watching a horror movie from the 80s. Hendrix gets it really right. What I really appreciate in this one as well is that the horror feels very similar to being a teenage girl. It feels so scary to lose a friend at such an impressionable age, and I think Hendrix did it well. Every scene, I was cringing at what was happening to Abby because I could totally see how it's being skewed, that she's just actually losing touch with her friend and her friend is not actually possessed. It could even be argued that Gretchen's behavior was just her experiencing puberty and going through changes that are just really hard to grasp as a young girl, especially between 2 friends that are losing touch. How everything came together in the end was really chilling and made total sense for the societal expectations for women and specifically Southern American women at the time. I just had a great time reading this. It was so fun. I gave this 4 stars and I'm really looking forward to read whatever Grady Hendrix has next. I have a couple of books on my TBR from him that I just can't wait to read. And that's it. Those are all of the books I read in the month of January. Please let me know down below if you've read any of them. Did you like them? Did you hate them? Let me know. And if you would like to follow me on any of my other social medias, I do leave a link down below to my Twitter, Goodreads, and Instagram if you would like to follow me there. And of course, because it is the end of the video, please do not forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. I tell you every time, but it does wonders for my channel. It makes me feel really good. And that's it. I never know how to end these things without feeling awkward, so I will see you next time. Okay, bye!